Canadian investigator Hacker Fiscalia uncovers key information that led to capture of O'Donnell, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, Tony Montana, and Mateo Messina Denaro. Previously, he exposed ties of former Colombian President Álvaro Uribe Vélez with the Sinaloa cartel. In exile in Canada since 2002, Richard Maok, known in social media as Hacker Fiscalia, a former CTI detective of the Colombian Attorney General's office and today a Canadian independent investigator, working for over 20 years on transnational criminal investigations related to drug trafficking and Colombian illegal armed groups, discovered the national ties between Colombian illegal armed groups and high officials from former President Álvaro Uribe Vélez government regime. Hacker Fiscalia has recently uncovered key information such as Colombian coordinates with drug trafficking secrets, which led to the capture of El Chapo's son, Ovidio Guzman Lopez.
O'Donnell's data, and then after that, my partners from Mexico. So he's talking about the partners from Sinaloa cartel.
Previously, Hacker Fiscalia's strategy was to facilitate sources indirectly to the DEA, with which Dairo Antonio Usuga David, also known as O'Donnell, surrendered to justice.
O'Donnell padece de diabetes, gota y tiene una grave afectación respiratoria. Abogados del capo consultados por Noticias Caracol confirmaron que a raíz de la persecución de las autoridades y las delicadas condiciones de salud, el hombre más buscado de Colombia estaría intentando acercamientos con Estados Unidos para su entrega como última salida.
The capture of Ovidio Guzman was possible due to Hacker Fiscalia's publication of O'Donnell's 20 secret coordinates, where he hid his most important contacts such as partners from Mexico, where Ovidio Guzman was one of them. Colombian authorities went to every coordinate where they found more information, which has been shared with international authorities. This way Mexico was able to capture Ovidio Guzman. Even Victor Hernán Sanabria Aranda, also known as Jorge, spokesman of the Gaydonist Self-Defense Forces of Colombia, agreed with the Ovidio Guzman's home coordinates hidden on the Colombian coordinate, partners from Mexico. Hacker Fiscalia spoke over 3 hours with Victor. After the publication of those coordinates on December 2, 2022, several hidden members of the Sinaloa cartel, Jalisco New Generation cartel, and Italian mafia have been captured. Some names are Mateo Messina Denaro, a convicted mafia boss and Italy's #1 fugitive, who ordered some of the nation's most heinous killings, was arrested Monday, January 16, 2023, at a private clinic in Sicily after 3 decades on the run. O'Donnell kept all the list of names and coordinates from Italy narco power under the title, My Italian Friends.
The next one is My Italian Friends.
Antonio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as Tony Montana, who is the brother of the top leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho. Oseguera was involved in money laundering, purchasing large quantities of weapons and coordinating violent attacks against rival groups, as well as international drug trafficking. Javier Alexis Lopez, also known as Toyota, who already had a conviction for drug trafficking. Toyota managed the finances within the Duran Ibargüen drug trafficking organization, coordinated everything related to production and shipping to Central America, as well as having ties to cartels in Mexico and Guatemala. His nickname in the criminal world has to do with the fact that his organization's shipments were marked with the logo of the car brand Toyota. He is required by a federal court of the Middle District of Florida for drug trafficking crimes. Alonso Acosta Serna, also known as Beto, who was accused of being an emissary between drug trafficking organizations in Colombia with Mexican and Guatemalan cartels, specifically the one in Sinaloa, today led by the sons of Chapo Guzman and the top kingpin, Ismael El Mayo Zambada. The counter-narcotics director says that Acosta has a criminal record in Colombia for the crimes of drug trafficking and threats. Also, he is required by a federal court of the Middle District of Florida for drug trafficking crimes. Only with one coordinate in Colombia, 7 degrees, 39 minutes, 10 seconds at north, and 74 degrees, 49 minutes, 26 seconds at west, with which titled, Mis Parceros de Mexico, which means my partners from Mexico, it was possible to complete those captures, and 19 more coordinates remain to discover even more of O'Donnell's drug trafficking secrets. The location of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho, top leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel, it can be found at the same coordinate, Mis Parceros de Mexico, or My Partners from Mexico. On the 19 other coordinates were surprisingly found former Colombian President Álvaro Uribe Vélez, former Colombian President Iván Duque, former Commander-General of the Colombian Army, Eduardo Enrique Zapatero, Antioquia government, police commanders, traffickers and international routes. Although the coordinates were published on December 2, 2022, they have not been captured yet, because the Colombian justice are protecting them, no matter what. For that reason, the Gaydonist Self-Defense Forces of Colombia and the Colombian Army joined forces together to attempt to assassinate the sources who gave those coordinates to hacker Fiscalia. Obviously, they wanted to keep it secret as much as possible, to avoid exposing two former presidents and the former Commander-General of the Colombian Army, having strong ties with Kingpin, O'Donnell. Former Colombian President Álvaro Uribe Vélez also sent 10 tons of cocaine to the Sinaloa cartel in 2007, and he still is today untouchable by Colombian justice. The other son of Joaquín, El Chapo Guzmán, Jesus Alfredo Guzmán Salazar, was the supervisor in Colombia of that specific shipment. Hacker Fiscalia also filed a report to the current Attorney General's office about two high-key people in the Colombian U.S. drug trafficking industry, and both have been killed. Luis Horacio Escobar Saldarriaga, also known as the Invisible Octopus, was shot with 2 bullets in the neck and 1 in the head. He was a drug trafficker partner of former President Álvaro Uribe Vélez. The other person, Claudio Javier Silva Odalora, was shot with a rifle. He was an associate who did money laundering from Julio Alberto Lozano Piratec, a kingpin associated with Fernando San Clemente Alzate, former director of Colombian Civil Aviation Authority, also known as Aerocivil, and former Colombian ambassador in Uruguay. San Clemente is very close to former President Álvaro Uribe Vélez. There is not an accountable Attorney General today in Colombia, since Francisco Barbosa is an ally of former President Álvaro Uribe Vélez. There is no judicial independence, and this case was denounced to the United Nations by the Switzerland NGO Maok International, from where hacker Fiscalia belongs to, as a civil society representative in New York.
Tiene la palabra Maok Internacional. Adelante.
Gracias, señor vicepresidente. La Conferencia Mundial de Derechos Humanos de Viena reconoció la centralidad de un poder judicial independiente en los procesos de democratización. Lamentamos la utilización del poder de enjuiciamiento para reprimir ilegalmente a los actores de la protesta social en Colombia, que comenzó el 28 de abril de 2021. La Fiscalía General de la Nación se encuentra en manos de Francisco Barbosa, nombrado en 2020 bajo el gobierno anterior. Esta fiscalía realiza montajes para condenar por terrorismo a jóvenes que a lo largo del país pidieron que se hiciese efectivo el acceso a la educación, entre otros derechos. De otra parte, el fiscal Barbosa dilapida recursos públicos. La Fiscalía celebró un contrato el 27 de enero de 2022 por 3.546 millones de pesos para hacer mantenimiento del avión de la Fiscalía usado para fines personales. El valor normal del mantenimiento es de 400 millones. Francisco Barbosa será fiscal de la Nación hasta 2024. Las acusaciones contra Álvaro Uribe Vélez por narcotráfico no siguen su curso bajo este fiscal. Esperamos que en el nuevo gobierno se proponga a un fiscal idóneo en 2024 y animamos a la Judicatura a cuestionar las imputaciones contra jóvenes que ejercieron su derecho constitucional a la protesta durante 2021 y muchas gracias, señor vicepresidente.
Thank you.